Yes. Hope that you hear me well. Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So this is for me the first time, so I don't know if I match completely the expectation of everyone, but let's go through what I'm doing and why I'm so interested to present these things that I'm doing right now. So I give some background on me, very quick. So okay, even I'm a technical, you can see from my shirt, I'm representing the company that I found, but mostly I'm an embedded Linux engineer in Catamara solution. I was working in the product on the field, like in Linux and Android since the beginning, and I do 80% of my time development and work on some open source projects. Mostly depends on the kind of products and things that come up on my desk. And what we try to do, and what I try to do when we found times, or some of colleagues find times, is to upstream things. Now we are very focused and on upstream on Yocto. There is a lot of interest in Yocto, and I will show why. And of course, in the past, I was doing the Linux and U-boot, and I'm playing a bit with the Jenkins plugins. Yeah, this is basically why I study software engineering. We would like to, to travel the world. This was really happening, and okay, this the way I'm still traveling. Some kind of a challenge every times, but yeah, it's funny. Even it's look weird. This image from my university is really what I found out that was happening to my life is still happening. Yeah. Okay. I'm basically fighting a lot, and every know of you maybe knows on legacy.
Warte kurz.
Sorry.
Ah, so, jetzt sag du was? Okay, er redet jetzt aus dem Lautsprecher.
Go on.
Okay, sorry. In my works, I need to works a lot in on legacy system, and this is started to be kind of problematics, and even the natures how the things are set up in the beginning are very badly set up. So the problem is that is no way at all to work now on kind of system that are vendor lock-in, or because there is a lot of problems to maintain the project consistently during the time. And when I talk during the times, I'm looking for projects that they stay in the field from 5 to 10 years. So it means that we cannot stay anymore and thinking that the devices that are released now can stay anymore in the field for a long time, due mostly the fact that all the new system that we design, all the new system that we're working with are basically connected and have a lot of interaction with the user. Talking about Android devices, I was playing with the payment system, for instance. So what we need to do is that we need to take in account a lot of things, and not only the fact that we would like to have like kind of security products, but we need to take in account that a lot of company culture still thinking that what they have in their design or what they deliver like 5 or 10 years ago is still possible to continue to deliver as kind of small change to their original design. And this will be impacting not only the new products, but even the times to delivery, because they need to understand, or people need to understand, that coming with the new setups, including even to come with new tools, new way to develop things, a new way to approach projects, and this will be really reduce the time spent by software engineering to maintain and to deliver products. So Yocto was used, it's a good way to customize a specific embedded devices or a lot of features that is already integrated. And even the newer versions are much more easy to use and much more easy to tailor to what we really need to design a project. And the community around Yocto and the way that the project is maintained help us a lot to create new products and to make it very quick and very easily to create from scratch. I will then explain some specific case that I get starting from two ways to do. So starting from scratch, or basically try to continue to work on the same design and try to improve and moving to the newer Yocto projects. So yeah, that can be some funny, but most of the company does not use Yocto as was designed. So it means that they weekly know all the potential of Yocto, and they continually persistent to use Yocto, to use things as they use like basically 10 years ago, put in this way. And a lot of companies does not have the sensibility to have a strategy to update their projects, so they update their packages, and they struggling to give back contributions. For instance, I think 2 weeks ago, I upstream a very simple change on Yocto for a Conman project where the start script was not well designed, and the project was inside a company for, I think, 7 years or 6 years. So I found out using a new version of Yocto that things are not going well as before. So I decided to upstream this change to the community. It means that even a lot of companies use it. A part of them really then go back to contribute to the project. So this is kind of things that need to be changed. I will explain why. It's not a matter of, that we are working on large corporates on whenever. So no, if every single company, even a small company, gives small contribution to the projects, everything can improve very quick, because we are not talking about, spending your lives, or spending few hours maybe to get back what you learn or get back what you fix. So, for instance, in recent standard of Yocto distributions, I just moved Sumo to ScarGap, and I need to redesign it from scratch, and it takes really it takes a lot of time. So of course, it depends on the architecture where you're starting from, but when you have an NXP architecture, basically it's on let's say, supported architectures, then bumping U-boot or bump Linux kernels really requires a few 2 days, basically, because when the architecture is fully designed, you start exactly from the schematics. The schematics, you go down to the device tree, and from the device tree, your architecture is up and running, basically. And when you go to U-boot, now when the device tree is, again, is upstreaming and it's used by U-boot in the same way in the Linux kernel, there is a kind one-to-one matching, even U-boot then come back easily. And that means that ScarGap and few LTS components like Ubuntu and Linux kernel make an easy starting product in really few days. Okay, and the concept before I approached this project was, okay, we have Sumo from 2019. It went well. We have in the field. We have another IME6 design, so we go with what we have. And I said, no, it's really not possible anymore. There are a few reasons why that is not possible, including the new regulation that is coming to Europe, for instance, and you have some kind of regulation that is not mandatory for security in the United States. So it means that it means even design in a way that you need to you have an overlook of the times and how you want to maintain these products. The same I do for Rocco to Kirsten, same challenges, but then I really are paying there what I call it, the fact that you design your products around, legacy things, and then those legacies it's really go to impact your way to move into the new distributions. So this is the reason why I suggest always to try to keep and go only to use a long-term distribution, Linux and U-boot and Yocto. So let's try to understand how we try to leverage my approach to the problems. In the past, I was using closed source tools for security. I still a bit use. I don't know how much you know about tools like DuckDuck of MENS, but I want to understand how it was possible to have some kind of information back to the CI, continued CI integrations in open source tools like Jenkins, how Jenkins can help me to have an idea, let's say, yes, roughly idea how much my device is affected by security vulnerabilities. Of course, the fact that you have 1,000 or 10,000 security vulnerabilities doesn't mean that your product is vulnerable by default, because depends the use case of your products. But let's suppose if you have 10,000 vulnerabilities, you have a high probability to have really a lot of vulnerabilities in the final products. So I start from see what was hanging around, and what Yocto was producing as to me as a CVE extraction from the build. And then I was already using Jenkins in my continued integration daily jobs. So apart we need to know what exactly as a pipeline. So it's some task that the CI needed to execute. Okay, you in Jenkins, you have declarative script led. I must admit that I use Groovy pipeline because I like coding. So everything is designed as a code. So let's think that a pipeline is a code. And let's see how it can be simple to build, for instance, right now, a Yocto project with a simple Groovy function that is basically extract scripts that builds any kind of target that you want from the CI as steps. This basically, it's easy, to deploy your Yocto distributions. Now, this is an example that using CAS container. There are a few tricks for, to maintain connection with SSH, private host, and so on. But at the end, what the CI is must doing is just to build some kind of an image. It can be SDK, it can be production engineering builds, whatever you like to build. So it can be done in 5-6 lines of code. Of course, there are a few kind of make it better in a lot of way, but let's say already in five instruction, you started to have a running builds. And if you want to complicate a bit your code and running much more steps, and also archive a bit of your artifacts, you of course using and create your building code in a few steps or stage, and then each stage will try to build part of your image, and then you collect your artifact. Okay, so Jenkins allow easily to create a lot of things from coding, like releasing and versioning of your coding, and we will know how then we can track down vulnerabilities up to our build, and do the fact that it was let's say create in a way that he has not only has the famous state cache. Basically, you can easily build, you can use those kind of things to do verification build on each commit. So this is the way that I do it. I have a setup that using Gerrit, but you can think put request as a topic build. And so each commits that I'm going to build as in my layers are verified by the pipeline. Of course, that this is a kind of way that you can deliver anything using Yocto, and according how much is hot your state cache, your building can take a few minutes up to the first times that you build up 1 hour and a half in my infrastructure. And what I need to have is a kind of easily way to verify the status of my build every time that things are incrementally in build. So I use a lot verification builds through my pipeline, and it's standard verification build right now. Last build that I made today takes 6 to 7 minutes, but I have even shorter builds. Depends how you trick up and you decide to leverage or not your verification build. But but it's not really, to continue to verify your builds or to run testing on top of your build on your pipelines. You need to see how you, because at some points of the life of the devices, I have like products that I need to release every 3 months. So every 3 months we have like kind of bumpings from a newer version of stable release of a products if it is delivery. So I need to bump each kind of sub-projects to the more stable one to include all the vulnerability that was tracked before the first 3 months of delivery. So I needed to have an idea of what is the status of my vulnerabilities, and this needed to have, I need to have a qualitative way, and then of course in a formative way that this can be achieved through the CI, because time to times is not far away that we need to really take tickets from the CVE, from the list of the CVE, and we need to patch down to the system because some vulnerability are considered critical for that type of the devices. So I need to know which vulnerability are open within each release, and which is the trend of vulnerabilities during each build or during the update of the vulnerabilities. So what I found out that, okay, I cannot have in Jenkins, kind of times to create a new things for Yocto. So I said, okay, let's take a look what we have now. And I found that there exist some already frameworks that is creating, is not rockets, is not perfect right now. I found out that there are a lot of space of improvement, but of course it was a really starting point to collect the vulnerabilities, and in terms of severity, scarlet type, which module, and try to put outside from the CI something that the user can use immediately as a feedback from each build. Okay, so I need to know each times if my build is more, let's say, if I don't build for weeks, of course the number of vulnerability can only increase. But if I regularly bumping or regularly doing CV collecting through the build, then I know the trending of my devices during the times. Okay, this is not taking into account other kind of problems. This is like using only open source projects. Okay, so as people know, Yocto has the possibility to inherit this CVE class. This allows basically an easy, straightforward way to generate a JSON format during the builds that get information about all the packages that are included in the build in your images. And this image together with the parsing or the data models that I create for the Jenkins, for the Yocto JSON model, you can get all the information coming from the JSON models to the build, to the result build. Okay, people can ask how much time it takes to start to do something like that. Okay, for me it takes, I'm not a Java programmer, for me it takes 2 days because it takes half a day to write the model and 1 day and a half to fix all the compliance of the CI of the plugins, because there's no Java programmer, it's complaining a lot of things. So I don't spend a lot of time. I wanted to have a quick way to already model it, because I was planning to add then new features. So it means go to open source, even for people that are not kind of programmer or some languages, but they are on top of good design projects. It's not so difficult, and help later people or projects to have a much more effective result of the, or give much more back to the community. I was not doing it for business, but I was doing it for interest to understand where we can go, okay, forward in analysis of vulnerabilities, because it's something that I'm doing since 2018, okay? So in a different kind of project, but since 1 or 2 years, I'm interested, 1 year I'm interested in Yocto. Before I was interested in Buildroot, and before I was interested in Android. So this is the first time that I approaching and see what Yocto was provided to me, and I was really happy about it. Okay, so I play a bit. I see now things are going in Yocto for code perspective, so it means that it's easy. If I understand everything correctly, it means that as everything is from result perspective is done, the generation is done in the CVE check BB class, and then there is a vulnerability database that update download, and this download is CVE check and populate. You can go to play with SQLites, and you can open the database. You can do your query. I play a bit to understand how things was going. So it means that it's quite organized and quite easy to understand, because the idea is behind where it's, you take a look at the code, you want to understand where we want to go forward on the design. So there are some limitations. It's not about something that is it's not possible to resolve. I mean, I don't find it, let's say, in the JSON generator. So most of commercial products generate even a remediation result. It means that in the JSON entry even provide you few resulting remediation for that specific CVE. So it means that it's, if you have remediation, it's much more easy to go patching and fixing the vulnerabilities. Sometimes in Yocto documentation is written that a minor change to the version that fixes something, it's easy to bump the package to a minor versions, but sometimes you don't go to patch and fixing. I give an example of patching and fixing vulnerability that I played during this time. Was some Qt vulnerabilities, because some are raised but are not, let's say, fixed by a Qt company, because they have a kind of different stable approach of vulnerabilities. So let's say that I found 3 vulnerabilities, 2 of them was about Windows. So then you can make them, let's say, not interest for the project, because they are not impact, the solution. So you need to work as described in the Yocto documentation about how to approach vulnerabilities and adjust it, or patching, or say that you are not affected. The JSON format of Yocto is it's quite straightforward. So it has a common field of common things of fields inside it. And then what I need to do, basically, from the perspective of the CI, I need only to take what I need from it and let it appear as in a way that it was matching the Jenkins warning and the G vulnerability code. This basically allow me to properly show what was not affected. Is JSON in Java is easy to parse. The only thing that was a little tricky, was really funny, was to match a different score and to find with what is the vulnerability score affected by the global vulnerabilities. But okay, that is done. I found out that was done in some project in some way to create the medium height vulnerabilities. So I do the same approach to the plugins. Of course, the plugin is open source, so everything can be changed. Then what was the most important things that you have is I was focused what was unpatched, and I was focused on score and link to the vulnerability summary and the deep to then having in the result. So if I want to know, if I want to have an idea how vulnerability approach to works it's going to my projects, I need only to connect from the Yocto scanner the build result. So I need to know some groovy code that takes my Yocto scanner, give the where the CVE is collected, whenever it's collected, and this one allow me to to store it in Jenkins. This allow everything to be stored in the history. Okay, this I will describe what is it, but apart from the colors, it's basically collect and divide the vulnerabilities in colors by low risk, high risk, and normal risk. I basically explain why this graphics is go up and down. As you can see, the project was not using a lot of components. I was having 224 vulnerabilities on components because right now I moved to basically mainline and reduce my kernel to 1 BTS, and so I need only to bump to last term stable code. This is nice things. So as soon as your board is mainlining, or as soon as your board is limited to the device 3, then you need only to bump the base of your Linux kernel in order to rearrange your project to the new Linux kernel. I don't forget that when you're bumping projects and you are bumping components moving to LTS, there is always a lot of things that can happen from that times to when you deliver it. I give an example. We usually bumping following up the release of some projects, but what happened is that, and this is nice for people that are doing open source contributions, that sometimes by bumping of the packages increase the package size because we forget to add some more configuration option to exclude some packages. The package is large because it has much configuration options. And this means that we have constraints of the size of the final image in our devices. This come with some patches that come to some projects that allow us to make more fine-grained the configuration. So working in LTS for the perspective of companies, it means to have less. You need to have a process to keep track of your vulnerabilities. For the point of view of the soft developer point of view, there is a challenge because you always find something to fix, and this is really nice because you really go back what the community gives to you. So the approach is that if you track good your project, then your vulnerabilities go really down during your embedded design. Okay, what happened in this kind of projects? Basically, I was passing for Keystone to Scarga, including the kernel update. So in that area, it means that as soon as I was targeting a lot of vulnerabilities, and then I go straight down. Of course, I retest things about my products, but as I said, it was designed around kind of a standard interface to the user space. Then the impact that can come to your product, okay, depends on your products, but suppose that this is a product that's quite simple. In this case, in automatic control system, industrial control system using EtherCAT. So it means that it's not so sophisticated apart the real-time part. Then you keep down the vulnerability. And that is the thread during the times where I don't continue to apply patches over the times. So you can see that the things are. So it means that the CVE are obviously updated. I don't know if I'm in time still or I'm going too slow. Okay, because I don't have with me. Okay, so. But vulnerability is not means only to see a nice graphics, but even have the possibility to go down to each project, sub-projects, to find out a way to remediate it, to understand where the vector of impact is in your device. So it's come from network, local, and so on. Which meta layer is getting impact, because this is needed for find out where to fix the vulnerabilities, and when you can picks the CVE download links. I mean, where I can find information about this vulnerability. Because most of the times, if you go to the NIST or to this kind of project, you can find out a list of links down that suggests where that thing was patched. So you can easily, using the Yocto tools, to go down and to fix your package. So what is it's easy to have is a Visual Navigator of it. Okay, JSON is nice, but in my case it was not nice. It's including in my way to work on the CI with Yocto. So I wanted to explode this CVE, go to the link, follow up the suggestion for relation in any, and then apply using standard tools in Yocto, apply the CVE remediations. So that's it. As I said, corrected to the image before, to collect things after, for instance, a Groovy pipeline is just record the issues through your last build in your images. Of course, I'm tracking vulnerability on production images because usually I have multiple type of image in a product. Some images context much more tools because we are in stage it's developing it. We still continue to build different images, but I'm more interested in what happened in production build. Okay. Now let's go to our approach to the projects. Our approach basically the project. Recently, I just create and start from scratch a lot of projects. So now I just starting from basic components. So let's forget about POCI. So I take the minimal components. I suggest to take a look at this started simple coming from Bootling Ceresoli that create a nice CAS YAML simple starting point for a Yocto project. I found it interesting and I use it. And I'll always track Linux bootloader coming upstream because it's way much faster to work with the latest components. I don't use the latest in my latest projects. Any components come from a vendor unless it's forced by the customer. So it means that any project that I can use open source components, I just start directly from LTS components. Like now I'm targeting kernel 6.6 LTS and ScartGap projects, and I continue to track down those projects. The reason is behind the times consuming to come out in a lot of problems. I give an example. If I was working on some Yocto Rockchip distributions that I cannot use even DevTool for developing or changing patches my Linux kernel, my components, because it's incompatible for a lot of reasons. DevTool is incompatible in NXP repo projects and so on. So it's really a mess. I cannot work on things that are not stable, on things that are not designed in a way that are easy to use. So if we wanted to maintain, a good projects, we really need to start from project setup. There is no way out, because if you start with a bad project setups, you are going to pay it at least later. And I have a lot of experience that it's very messy to design something on things that are not stable in a user interface, in a user space, from the kernel to the user space. Because if you create thousands of lines of code, you are getting starved for years, and it's very difficult to repair your old legacy projects. So it's what to. Another thing is that I try to maintain my layers as minimal as possible, because I want to reduce dependency for layers that are not well maintained. And that is a must. So I will not add any packages, even it's easy to add from any layers, if it's not really necessary. And the only things that I'm targeting is the core layers coming from well-maintained core layers, and I only following them layers on community releases. Okay, that is another problem that I found out that is necessary when you work on security and when you work with Yocto, when you work with complex products, is to have a tools to track down easily what the project status is, in which layer you have. Okay, Yocto already track for each packages, which releases, which SHA is included for that build. But suppose that you need to track down multiple different repositories, multiple different things, then it's better and you need to release it properly. Then you need to have a tool that it's giving pictures even in CI for what you build sometimes. So CAS repo, I found out that they are quite nice is to maintain a picture of what you are building in terms of meta layers. And the other things that is that it's really they are help you really to simplify your works, and this is where I suggest to go. In the last project, I only set up CAS projects because it's more Yocto oriented, put in this way than repo, because I don't know, it has container builds, it has a few things that allow you to build project that it's more designed for Yocto than Repo. Even Repo is quite used by a lot of vendor like NXP and Rothschild mostly, and I think TI. But for Yocto, for Yocto open source project, I really suggest to use CAS. This is my personal opinion. In fact, when you do a project setup using CAS and I need to track things down, those are SHA for some version of Open Embedded Core method Open Embedded. I just use CAS. This is a simple YAM file, just a part of YAM file of a project that I maintain, that I track down the repositories that I have CI on the company. Okay, that is very fundamental because people get scared about vulnerabilities or not. But if you stay on the field for a while, I have like a kind of periodically vulnerability review to customers. It means that not all the vulnerabilities need to be repaired now. Of course, the bumping down to LTS components allow me to have down this vulnerability analysis through the customer. It means that if I have 1,000 vulnerabilities, a minor change to the projects, to some project retesting, it's automatically done by the process, and then I need to analyze back a lot of less vulnerabilities. But on top of that, I need to understand which are my vector of vulnerabilities. If I don't have Bluetooth is not affecting my design. If I don't have Wi-Fi or I don't have any kind of connectivities, then I have less probabilities to be against these vulnerabilities. Apart that, modern there are other problems. I mean, to understand what is compiled with what is executed. But let's forget about that. It's come a bit more difficult than to see. There are a few ways to try to limit the vulnerability list to the one that are really needed and really affected your design. So this is, we need to go to the short list. It means that from all the vulnerability we have, we need to pack down and go to the short list. And the way to go to short list is go using tools to go to process it properly. This is the reason that I need tools and CI to process things, because I don't want to go every 3 months or every 2 months or every when some bugs very important coming to the vulnerability track analysis to something that I need to spend days or I need to spend a lot of time to go through it, and because I have limited time, even the customer. So the way that I process, suppose that I get to the short list, the way that I go to the remediations, it can be update the package, apply the fix to the packages. If we update the packages, we need to upstream the package that update. If apply the fix, we need to follow up the way to fixing vulnerabilities through the Yocto. Of course, the Yocto way is the standard way even in other projects. So it means if you learn how Yocto do things, it means that you know how it should be applied to other projects. And more you track kind of LTS project, more of this kind of job is done even by others. So it means that if you contribute back to the vulnerabilities, it means that you not help yourself at that time, so even you get back from other one that do your same jobs for other projects. So this is an invite for everyone to contribute to Yocto, and every time that you have something fixed back, to go back to the projects, because me and other as you can get back to your benefit from you. Because I don't want to maintain anymore. It's something that I continue to repeat to customers, that why I wanted to push their boards or their device upstream, because the times spent to maintain products is very high, start to be very high, and the times that we can dedicate our time to features, to implement new features, is shorter if we spend times to maintain. And this is the reason, even because then you quickly go and improve your products. Okay, so that is coming basically from documentation. So if you have something that this can do, minor release, go for it. But if I want to patch my packages, I go to the CVE through the remediation analysis and apply standard flow to modify packages, create commit packages, and prepare the patches to upstream down the patches to open source. It's not now happening now in Yocto by me, but because it's something that I learn and I try to improve before in the company process to be ready to automate more. What now I'm basically do a bit a bit structure, but there are some phases or some parts that I still do it manually, basically. And yes, and then when I patched it, then my vulnerabilities part decrease and so on. And then all the vulnerabilities that are not affecting me, I mark it as.
Michael, you need to wrap this up.
I needed to.
You need to wrap this up. You're way over time. And
I've
been
been
trying to get in touch with you.
Yeah.
My mic is out.
Yes, 1 second, 1 minute more. Okay.
Okay, just wrap it up ASAP.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, So I start a real example. Okay, let's go. Yes. Let's go. Yeah. Okay, let's go. What I want to do now, from now on Yocto, basically. Now I'm working mostly on a commercial products, so I want to create a new kind of scanner app, and I want to create a new vulnerabilities layer for commercial products, so people can use it. And I want to start to keep an eye out to create a helper to try to automate more the CVE approach into my work, okay, to automate things up. I think that...
All right, really fast.
Yeah, too fast now.
Okay, we can take questions in chat, and the next talk is on VS Code. So if you could